Hi everyone, welcome to another Ravynne's Ramble. Today, while I share my thoughts about an issue regarding respect, you can watch as I work on a commissioned piece I've just completed. The painting illustrates a vision that came to the client as they were taking part in a guided meditation. They felt such a strong connection that they asked me to illustrate the scene for them. Painting the leaves over and over again reminded me of how often we repeat similar processes within our day-to-day lives. We follow a routine, not breaking from it except on rare occasions or when it's unavoidable. I was reminded that I am a creature of habit, someone who finds a process that works for her and then uses it over and over again. Doing so gives me a feeling of control over my life. It makes me feel more confident, more sure of myself. I often think I am an odd person and a little dysfunctional because I hold so tight to my processes, often resisting change until it is forced upon me. But then I look out into the world and see so many others doing exactly the same thing, and I wonder if I am more flexible and adaptive than I often give myself credit for. So many are out there doing what I do, but following routines dictated by those they work for. I work for me, while they work for others, often performing roles and offering services that they don't really enjoy. They do it not because they really want to, but because they have to. They do it because it is necessary in order to survive. I am blessed to be doing something that I love, but it's taken me many years to find a healthy balance between creating and selling. The selling side of things is not always enjoyable, especially when it takes me away from creating. I wish I could spend all of my time creating, but without money, I cannot create. Money makes the world go round. Of late, I've been noticing just how many there are out there in the world who work from dawn to dusk, doing what they need to do in order to pay their bills and provide for themselves and their families. They do it without question, because they have to. Just as I have to. The thing is, when they go to work for others, they expect to be paid for their time and efforts. If they were not paid, they would be upset, and justifiably so. They have an expectation that their employers, who they work for, will take their role seriously and pay them for the job that they have performed. The very last thing they expect when fulfilling their role is to be condemned for asking for payment, or have it said that their role is not serious or real work, or worse, that their performing such a service for a fee is indicative of a spiritual or moral lack within. To quote one of my recent trolls, I ask you the following: what's the problem? Are you another one of those people who won't do anything without a price on it? Shame on you. Shame on me? An electrician would not be expected to do work for free, nor would an accountant. You would not tell a lawyer that they are not fulfilling a serious role, or shame them for charging an hourly rate. Nor would anyone do it to someone working in customer service. Even a humble waiter garners more tips and often more respect than many artists earn for their efforts. I have been painting now for 15 years. In that time, I've painted a number of character portraits, 3 children's books, several book covers and internal illustrations, 2 oracle decks and 1 tarot deck, and a rather large number of private commissions. I've painted several hundred paintings during that time, and the sad part is that I've probably been shamed almost as many times. Well, that might be a touch of an exaggeration, but unfortunately there have been enough shaming comments along the way for me to know firsthand that it is something that artists have to contend with. The shaming of commercial artists and illustrators, especially those who choose to express their faith and spirituality in their art and then sell those paintings, is quite common. The question posed by my latest troll is just one of many that have been directed at me over the years. I and other artists are frequently shamed for charging a fee for our services, or disparaged because we offer professional services at all. At my first gallery-held exhibition, I had someone shun me because I foolishly delighted in selling several paintings. It was the first time I'd sold paintings, and I'd mentioned to a friend who was with me at the time that I was going to spend some of the money that I had earned on what this person believed to be totally frivolous things. Apparently, my delight was perceived as gloating, and my desire to spend some of my payment on something for me revealed my very base nature. I have had people claim that my talent is not supposed to be my livelihood, and even going on to further suggest that I am abusing my talent, and as a consequence, lots of people are missing out. Missing out on what? I cannot count the number of times comments of this nature have been directed my way, and they often leave me scratching my head and wondering where these beliefs come from. As soon as I discuss the business side of what I do, the unenlightened trolls come out to play. I find myself wondering, what is it that these people expect me to do? Who is it they expect me to be? Do they want me to work for someone else, doing something I'm not suited for, and coming home tired and drained to such a degree that I have no desire to create anymore? Am I supposed to just do what I do as a hobby and give away what I paint to family and friends? Would that be more honourable? Is a person with a talent for mathematics supposed to become a customer service clerk instead of using their talents and becoming a teacher or a scientist? Is someone with a talent for helping others supposed to hide themselves away in a back room crunching numbers instead of working in a customer service role? Where on earth did this person get the idea that talent, any talent, should not play a role in a person's career path or choices? Why is it that an artist is not supposed to use their talent to pay their bills? It's like telling a musician that they can sing and write, but they're not supposed to sell or share their music. And what does talent have to do with it anyway? It might shock some to hear me say that I don't believe that talent plays a huge role in my doing what I do. There are many more talented artists out there who can paint circles around me. They have more talent in their little fingers than I possess in my entire body. I didn't come with an innate ability to paint. I had to learn. I spent years learning. I am still learning. What I lack in talent, I make up for in love, passion, and dedication. I taught myself everything I know. I have reached this point in my career through sheer tenacity, hard work, dedication, and love. Any success I have is because I am committed and just as much in love with drawing and painting today as I was when I first began. In fact, I would have to say that I'm more in love today. I have sacrificed a lot for what I do. Some would even go so far as to suggest that I have sacrificed my relationship of 24 years for my creativity, and I can't really disagree. In the end, I would have to agree that I loved what I do more than I loved my partner. And if it came down to a choice between painting and or having a relationship, I would choose painting every single time without any regret. Talent plays a role, but only a minor one, because I am one of those artists who is driven by an almost overwhelming need to create. I am not happy unless I have a paintbrush in my hand or nearby. I believe I do what I was born to do, and nothing will sway me from that conviction. What irks me is that if I were a doctor, being paid for my services would not be questioned. If I were a lawyer, being taken seriously would not be an issue. For every person who has shamed me for placing a price tag on my creativity, there has been another who has expressed a belief that there's no such thing as a professional artist because art is not a valid career path. Why? When I first started out, I had friends tell me that I needed to get a real job. Even my own parents did not consider my love for art to be anything more than a hobby. My older brother wanted to be a chemical engineer, and so off he went to university. I wanted to be an artist, so off I went to study how to become a good secretary. Because I am an artist, I have to, on some days, almost fight and sometimes even beg to be taken seriously or to be paid for what I do. Why is it so many artists find themselves faced with similar issues? I have been called base, materialistic, spiritually corrupt, and more. I've had my role as a professional illustrator held in contempt, my skills mocked, and been told that what I do is of no value or importance. And I am not the only one. This is something nearly all commercial artists experience at some point in their career, and all too often it's our family and friends who are the least supportive. Worse still, we are often condemned or have our circumstances made even more difficult by other artists. There are those who create who believe that what they do is a pure, almost divine expression of creativity, and that it should never be tainted by being sold or by demanding a fee. Then there are those who undersell themselves and give in to the companies who offer exposure in lieu of payment. Yes, there are websites out there where businesses can hire artists for the lowest fee, sometimes no fee at all. These artists are so desperate for work that they will work for ridiculously low amounts. In many situations, what they are paid is far, far less than minimum wage. They believe the lies. They believe they will get more work from promises of exposure, but find themselves stuck in a repeating cycle of underselling themselves in order to get work, not because others don't believe that they are worth more, but because they, the artists, don't believe that they are worth more. If they did, they'd be asking for more. Why should others take them seriously if they don't? These businesses are only taking advantage of behaviour that the artists allow, and they will continue to do so until we make it clear that it is unacceptable. That is why I choose to speak out on the subject, even though I know that I'm going to find myself trolled. Until we, professional artists, stand up and demand that we are paid a fair fee for our time, and tell all who listen that our art is not theirs to take and profit from just because it's on the internet, we will continue to struggle and be told that we must be the stereotypical, starving artist who must suffer for their creativity. Several months ago, I reopened my commission books. It's been rather interesting to note that I have received a small number of queries as to whether I would be interested in illustrating an oracle deck. The interesting thing is that every single one of those queries have been from authors who want me to do the work on the promise that I will be paid royalties if the deck is published. All of them were unpublished authors who had not yet approached a publisher. Now I can tell you that most publishers receive hundreds to thousands of submissions every year, and only a very small number are ever offered publishing contracts. So a promise of a share in royalties means very little, and unless you are coming from a position of power, you will not likely be paired with an artist of your choosing. 2 queries I received were from authors who plan to self-publish, and they promised a percentage of all sales. But here's where the bias towards artists becomes more obvious. The authors are aware that they have to pay for printing and packaging. They are also willing to pay for other services like shipping, advertising, and promotion. They are willing to pay for these services upfront without question, but they are unwilling to pay for the illustrations. Instead, they offer a promise for the most time-involved and important aspect of the deck's creation. No offence to all those wonderful authors out there. I'm in no way making light of their writing skills or creative and emotional investment. But the reality is that oracle decks are a very visual medium. Unless the author is known and has a following, it is often the artwork that sells the deck. Not all the time, but I feel confident in saying that the illustrations influence the majority of sales. And yet we are offered promises instead of money. So answer me this. How is the illustrator of a deck supposed to pay their bills to keep the roof over their heads, to support and provide for their family, or even pay for materials if they are not paid for their work at the time of creating it? Most decks have a minimum of 45 artworks. If the illustration has a moderate level of detail, it's going to take at least 3 days to a week for each illustration to be drawn and then painted. Sure, some artists might be able to bang out simple designs in a day, but that's not what the authors who approach me are expecting. They want work similar to what I've painted for my own decks. They want illustrations that would take me from 1 week to 3 weeks to complete. So let's do the math. Even if each of the illustrations were to take me only a week to complete, if there are 45 cards in the deck, that's 45 weeks. 45 weeks of continued painting, one painting after the other, back to back, without a break, or factoring in other responsibilities, or having a life. It would take me at the very least 18 months to illustrate a deck, and then I could only maintain the required pace if I did not have to worry about paying bills along the way. The only way I can do that is if I have good consistent print and original artwork sales, or a stable source of alternate income, or a spouse to support me along the way. Sometimes all of the above is required. I am single, not particularly wealthy, and partially supporting a daughter who is establishing her own illustration business. Now, if I'm doing unpaid work, I have to work slower on the project because I also have to do paid work so I can pay for rent, food, utilities, equipment, and clothing. Unpaid work will always get put to the side if there are bills to be paid. It's that simple. When there are bills to be paid, my focus shifts to selling, whether it be prints, originals, and products, or my illustration services. It would be the same for any other person who runs a business. A carpenter cannot continue to make furniture without selling what he's already made. A builder cannot continue to build houses if he does not sell houses along the way. They're not questioned. And yet I, because I am an artist, I am painted out to be some nefarious, corrupt, materialistic, and spiritually immoral person because I have dared to put a price tag on something that these people believe should never have a price tag on it. Why am I any different to anyone else? The bizarre part is that if I had stayed away from New Age circles and continued on as a professional illustrator for hire, simply painting covers and internal illustrations for print and ebooks and character portraits for role players, I would have not had my integrity questioned so often. It's the supposedly enlightened spiritual types who expect me to work for free for a higher purpose. And yet when I, in turn, ask them to support me by buying a print instead of downloading art from the net and printing it off, I am told that I am the one lacking in integrity. The person who feels that it's okay for them to take my work and print it out, or use it as a wallpaper on their desktop, or phone, or tablet, or use it for some meme to promote their spiritual message, without even taking a moment to discover whether I'm okay with it, is telling me that I am the one who is doing something wrong. As far as they are concerned, art is supposed to be free, and if I'm not okay with people using it, then I shouldn't put it out there on the internet. So I'm supposed to work for free on a promise while everyone else around me is paid for their time, experience, and services. Of course, what was I thinking? I forgot that when I chose to be an artist, that I made a choice to suffer for my creativity. I forgot that in choosing to work as an artist and illustrator, that I chose to be disrespected and underpaid because art is just so unnecessary. The funny thing is, my spirit guides like me must also be lacking in integrity because they've never had an issue with me selling my paintings or asking for a fee for my time and skills. They have always told me to trust that I will be able to continue to paint and create because people like what I do and will buy what I do. They will support what I do. But in order to create what people will buy, I have to have financial security. I need people to support me in a financial way. I cannot create without money because without it, I'll end up living on the streets, unable to provide for myself. But if I happen to express this reality, I'm told to stop complaining and that if things are so bad, then maybe I should go and get a real job like everyone else. Stop complaining. Just be grateful that you get to do what you love when so many others have to go out every day and do work that they hate. Well, people have also made claims that I exaggerate. I am making mountains out of molehills. People just want to have beautiful art and they want it for free. Where's the harm in that? It's just art and it's just there on the Google for people to take as they want. It's not as if I'm saving lives. It's not as if painting is a real and important job. I'm just painting pretty pictures, and anyone can do that. Unfortunately, it's something I face all the time. People ask for my commission fees and then tell me that they are more than they can afford. Now, I accept that art for one's walls is a luxury. But the reality is that if I were to reduce the price I have on my commissions and original artworks, I wouldn't even come close to being paid what most in-house artists and illustrators are paid per hour. I still get less per hour for painting than I did for working at the register in the nearby supermarket. And you know what? 98% of the time, I do it without thought or complaint. I do it because it is work that I love. As much as I don't like not having as much time to work on my own projects, I do love working with my clients. But I object to the ignorant belief that anyone can do what I do because it's easy, or that I'm not worthy of being taken seriously because what I do is not real work or has no value. Can you honestly watch this video, which condenses over 40 hours of painting time down to half an hour, and say that it does not illustrate something rather special? And this video only reveals part of the process. Before I began filming, at least another 80 hours was spent discussing the initial idea with the client, drawing out the concept designs, talking to the client, making alterations to the composition in real time while we chatted online, and then creating a final drawing and discussing the colour choices. I then had to prep the canvas, transfer the line work, start laying down base colours. You would have noted at the beginning just how much time was spent on painting leaves. If I had filmed myself painting all of the leaves and all of the grass, I would have ended up with over 80 hours of film to edit. How many hours do you work per week? Me? I usually work around 60, sometimes more. I have to work longer hours because for me, because I'm an artist, I have to give more in order to get what others receive without question. And it's not fair that this is the way it is. But I do what I can to help change the status quo by speaking up about it. To all of those who make less of what I do, but still want what I create, your claims say more about you than they do about me. And if you believe that you can do better, then go ahead. Be creative. I wish you would, and I wish you well. I really do. But I also hope that your experience opens your eyes, mind, and heart to the reality by revealing that only exceptional few can do what I do without having first invested thousands and thousands of hours into learning our craft. It might also pay to take a moment to reflect on what this world of ours would be like if there were no artists. As for me, I will continue to take on commissions from those who are serious about wanting me to paint for them. I will continue to paint for those who respect me as both a person and as an artist, and who understand that even a spiritual artist has needs and deserves to be paid a fair price for my 15 years of experience and the complete and utter love and dedication I weave into every single painting. Let me also say this. I'm not sure that I would even be open to working on an oracle deck for someone else. It would have to be a deck that I felt a very strong connection with for me to be willing to put aside my own projects in order to work on it, even if it was paid work. There are a couple of writers I would love to collaborate with and would do so in a heartbeat, even if it was on the promise of being published, but that's because we are both published and share the same publisher. However, the simple fact is, if I'm working on someone else's deck, it's going to be at the expense of working on one of my own. My time is something I value greatly, because of late I've been made aware of just how limited it is. I turned 48 last week, and over this last year I felt just a little mortal, after several people who I have both liked and respected of a similar age have passed over suddenly. No matter how well I look after myself, I have to accept that I probably have more years behind me than I do ahead of me, and there will come a time when age and infirmity will force me to put my brushes aside. This truth makes me just a little melancholy, because there are so many beautiful, powerful decks in my head that I want to create, but know I won't have enough time to bring them all to life, especially when I am forced to spend more and more time selling. And in the immediate future, it's going to be more of the same. I will be dividing my time between work on commissions, making preparations for my annual birthday sale, which will be held on my Facebook page in a few weeks' time, as well as making preparations to move to a new town hundreds of kilometres away from everything I have known and become familiar with. That involves taking time away from work in order to travel into a new hometown and find a new place to live, and then packing up and closing the doors on the place I have called home for the last 20 years. I am also still adapting to single life and doing what I can to keep my anxiety disorder under control. Life has thrown me a few curveballs over the last couple of years, and I've had to adapt and evolve in order to survive, which is why I will end this ramble by coming full circle and acknowledging that so far I've gone with the flow and I've adapted with more ease and grace than I often give myself credit for. Spiritual types may question my integrity because I put a price on my creativity, but I refuse to be bowed by that. I refuse to work on any project that does not resonate with me. I refuse to jump into a box that other people would like me to sit in. Circumstances may require me to do more work for others and less work for myself, but I refuse to undersell myself. Nor will I allow those who believe that I am less because I charge for my services to dictate how I perceive myself and how I do business. I am blessed to know a number of other artists who feel as I do, who stand tall and proud, and who choose to have respect for both themselves and their craft. I do, however, wish there were more of us. I wish more would speak up to dispel this silly notion that the work done by a fine artist who paints simply to express what's within is more worthy than a commercial artist who brings the visions of others to life. I am both. When I paint for me, I express what's within me. When I paint for others, and I do consider my spirit guides to be among those others, I connect with them in a very intimate and personal way in order to make their visions a reality. I illustrate their ideas, feelings, and dreams, and I do it because I love doing it. But just because I love what I do does not mean I should not be paid for what I do. On that note, I'm going to bring this ramble to an end. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my very patient Patreon supporters who often have to wait for me to juggle my hectic schedule around in order to meet all of my promises to them. Yes, they do receive several exclusive rewards and perks for their patronage, but the majority of them just want to help keep me painting. If you feel inspired to do the same, the link to my Patreon page and website are posted in the comments below. Every print purchased and every dollar spent helps to keep me painting and writing and moving forward with the next deck or project, as well as making the big move to a new town a less stressful one. Much love and many blessings to you all. Thank you for watching and listening. Until next time, be well.